Record. There we go. Good morning, everybody. This is John Marling, President of Pulse Research. I want to welcome you to our best practice webinar this morning on inside sales, some solutions and ideas to generate more new business and revenue with your inside sales teams, but also the secrets and ideas that will be shared this morning will be universal. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Andrew Smith and Megan Anderson from Vancouver, British Columbia. They're with Metro Publications. And Andrew, by the way, just won the Pulse Blitz contest, the best ad rep, by getting over 5,000 points, an incredible achievement. So this morning, Andrew and Megan will be sharing their best practices, their how-to, some of their ideas and suggestions for you on getting additional business and also generating new revenue. And so, first of all, Andy and Megan, is there anything you'd like to say to start? And also, by the way, share some of the success stories, just kind of the overview with us.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name's Andy. I'm here in Vancouver at the moment, where I think it's going to rain any moment. So I obviously got quite a large number of points on Pulse, and the reason being, I run the new business development team for Metro. Basically, what we did was we created a whole bunch of special features. We used the information that we got from Pulse, found out which were the priority markets and where we were really kind of missing out on business, and created features purely targeting them, which is something that hadn't been done before. Doing that, we had a whole bunch of success.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome, Andy. Megan, please share some of your successes and stories to start out our webinar this morning. And then we'll go into the details of some of the specific best practices.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. I work on Andy's business development team here at Metro Vancouver. What I found was a huge success using Pulse and the Pulse Report specifically was getting realtors to buy into our hot properties feature, which is a weekly feature that comes out in our home section. And prior to that, we would be calling a large number of realtors kind of Monday, Tuesday to try and get them in for Thursdays. And using the Pulse Report and the teasers, we were able to get some interested and book a year-long campaign in that feature specifically, which is just amazing. Not only because of the long-term revenue, but it just makes our lives a little bit easier.
That's true.
Well, that's absolutely true. It's one of the things I learned when I was an ad rep. Instead of spinning my wheels selling a one-time program, I finally got the, how should we say, the insight to sell a contract, and then I didn't have to sell them, every single week. So thanks for sharing that, Megan. So let's go now into some of your best practices. Number one on the list that you shared with me the other day in setting up this webinar was, how do you get their attention? How do you get their appointment? It's people are really busy today, and I appreciate you guys sharing with our audience today your best practices and secrets and how to engage with the business, get their attention, and get the appointment.
I don't think there's any particular one method or secret, so to speak. But for me, when I first started at Metro, I was a little bit, I hate to do it arrogant, but I always used to think that I knew exactly what people wanted. So I'd go in there with a set plan of what I was going to sell them. And I basically almost wouldn't listen. And one thing I found is I was really kind of taking the time to ask questions to people. Give them the information, give them the icebreaker. But I mean, I would not only necessarily use the icebreaker that I saw from Pulse, I'd take the information that was actually on the Pulse report. For example, when it came to realtors, just 24,372 households, read the Metro, are looking to actually buy or sell a home this year. Now, for realtors, that was a huge number. Going in there with the money, they could make, in Vancouver, they can make a lot of money. With one property, can pay for an entire year-long campaign. They're looking at $10,000 plus per property, if not more. And so we went in there saying, look, this is what we've got available. These are only Metro readers. And it made people kind of pay attention. Once again, as I said in the previous webinar, it's also going in knowing your facts. I mean, that's key. When you're going, if you approach a realtor and say, do you want to advertise? One of the first things they're thinking is no. The reason being, they hear from marketers and advertisers every single day, probably 4 or 5 times a day. If you know about the market you're targeting, you can do a lot better. We'd go in there and say there's 13,500 realtors. Go onto Google right now, put on Vancouver Realtor. And at the time, I think 570,000 links came up. Now, there's only 13,500 realtors, but these people are putting in, maybe 20, 30, 40 plus for each realtor. And they're saturating the digital market, at least from a Google standpoint. So it gave them perspective. And Pulse really helped open the door in terms of numbers.
Perfect. And Megan, do you have any suggestions and ideas how to engage, how to get their attention and get that appointment?
I think like Andy said, like we don't really have a specific strategy. Like a lot of it is being prepared and just kind of depends on your feel of the person that you're calling each time. Some are in a hurry, so you want to get them kind of that information that's in the teaser and just say, hey, we've got these readers that are specifically looking to buy your service. Can I give you a call back when you have a few minutes? I would love to talk to you about some opportunities. Or, if they have the time to talk to you, take that time and really ask them questions, listen to what they're doing, try and learn from them, essentially, and then see what you can do to help them and make what they're doing already better.
Thank you, Megan. And one of the key things that Megan said, by the way, was listen. Listen to them and then target to their needs. So kind of in summary on engagement is relate to their business. I think you guys would agree with that. That kind of breaks the ice. It starts that relationship. And you got the information in your ad seller program about and for their business. Now, the next best practice this morning is focusing and targeting new business categories. So Andy, if you kind of follow up on that and share some of your secrets on how you've been so successful in getting new business into Metro.
Yeah, no problem. Basically, in new business, in the Metro, the way it works, everyone pretty much has a vertical except the new business development team, which makes it a little bit harder. For example, I'm sure a lot of people are in the same situation. You've got people that have, for example, automotive, education, national. For new business development, we don't have any of that. Our job is to find areas where we're basically not having sales. So as I said, realtors, dentists, a whole plethora of areas. And the reason we found this was we started looking at the prospecting tool on Pulse Research. And we realized that we were missing a whole bunch of areas. I mean, what would you say? There's realtors, dentists?
Well, actually, one of the major areas that we were missing out on was those related to home improvement and home renos. There were several that came up at the top of the prospecting tool. And because of that, we actually will be having we've got the first time home buyers feature coming out at the beginning of April. And then we've got a home reno feature coming out either at the end of April or beginning of May. So that feature was created specifically because of that demand that we saw in the prospecting tool.
Awesome. And so just as a reminder, in your ad seller program, as both Andy and Megan just mentioned, the prospecting tool has a list of the best opportunities, the specific business categories. And as they just said, many of them you've overlooked, you've forgotten about. There's some really nice positive surprises of opportunity there. So kind of a reminder on the best practices, the prospecting tool in your ad seller program is a resource for you to identify and get new business categories. And like Megan just mentioned, there's opportunities in home improvement and the medical fields, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now our next, and Andy mentioned this kind of in his introductory remarks, one of the best practices, one of the biggies, if you will, is it identified some feature opportunities, some monthly feature pages specifically targeting industries, but were also those areas of very high interest to the readers. So guys, kind of share some additional thoughts on the success you've had with features.
Certainly. As I said before, when you call up a potential advertiser, you've got to bear in mind, unless you're offering them something different, if you're offering them a standard RRP or a digital component they can get from anyone else, you don't stand out. You can obviously have an English accent like I do, or you can have great prices, but the bottom line is you need something that's different. What makes you stand out? For example, as John's saying here, we have Retirement Senior. We actually have a Retiring BC feature that comes out on March the 22nd. And we went out there, we started targeting financial advisors who don't really advertise in the paper. They advertise pretty much everywhere else, but not the paper. We started out targeting retirement homes. And we saw 3.5 pages into the feature for people who had never even considered Metro News as being a viable source before. And the reason why they went with us is they realized we were creating a feature that's around their industry. And you create a sense of fear that if they don't go into the feature, one of their competitors do. And one thing that I always like when people ask me, when I'm obviously trying to pitch them, how did you find my details? And I'll always say, well, I get given a list of 20 people in your industry. And for example, you were the first person on the list. But we've got the other 19 people to call unless I fill this position. And instantly they've got in their mind that if they don't take it, one of their competitors will. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not going to work 100% of the time. But creating that element of fear and concern that, if they missed out, someone else will take it. I mean, we had someone take a double-page spread who, once again, had never advertised in Metro before, on the last day that was available, because they made sure that no one else was in it. When they made sure there was no other retirement fund that officially booked in with editorial, with sponsored content, they instantly booked it. So it's that kind of exclusivity, making they know that readers are going to read not just an advert, but they're going to read stories. And so if you've got a way, obviously, in the papers or magazines that you work with, to kind of create a matched content scenario, I find that has been very, very popular because it gets their message across as well as the call to action with the advert.
It's like the feature kind of gets their interest and it piques their interest in the paper and what we're doing, that we're creating something specifically targeted to their business. But then we can back it up with the information that we get on the Pulse report saying, we have X number of readers that are specifically looking for your business or your service, and they're looking to spend this much this year. We want to help you get a part of that, that spend. And these features have been great for that.
Well, congratulations. I just want to reinforce the success. 3.5 pages of new business. And in addition to that, Andy mentioned they sold a double truck, double spread to a non-advertiser. So these feature pages have been very, very successful in generating additional new business. And take a look once again at your prospecting tool to really identify the opportunity. In other words, the number of readers that are interested in this content. So it's a win-win. Our next best practices, this is something that Andy has suggested, is go for the whales. They want solutions. Andy's had some significant success, with his inside telemarketing to some of the majors. So Andy, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a funny story. A company that some people may have heard of called Shaw. And I actually looked in the system and noticed that no one had called them in a very long period of time. In essence, they'd fallen through the cracks. And when I called them up, it was quite a funny situation. The person on the other end, who represents their advertising, was actually excited. They said to me, wow, he said, I actually thought you had an exclusive deal with TELUS because we've not actually seen you. When no one's actually contacted us in several years. And I quickly allayed their fear that we didn't have an exclusivity agreement with anyone. And now we're discussing basically a nationwide campaign.
Incredible.
But if you don't go for these people, don't always assume that someone else is. If there is, obviously I understand that everyone has teams. Look on the system. Have these people been called? If you notice that there's big clients in your area and they haven't been called, check your CRM. Have these people been called? If not, ask the question, why are they not being called? Has someone left and he just got discarded? Or has people got lethargic? Because one thing that Megan and I find is we're on the phone pretty much constantly. I mean, the amount of calls we do a day, we have to drink so much water and smoothies, it's insane. But a lot of other people, they just farm. They've got their current databases, they've got their money coming in, and they don't look for new business. And so they miss this. As soon as we land these big clients, people think, oh, this should be mine. Well, as a sales rep, what I can say is if you go in there and you close a business that maybe should be in someone else's vertical, but they've never called them, 9 times out of 10, speak to your manager first before you do it. 9 times out of 10, your manager's going to say, make the call. Let's get that business in.
So in summary, don't assume that somebody has contacted. Don't assume that they might be interested. As Andy just shared with us, he's landed some major, major accounts by making the call. Thanks, Andy. Now, the next best practice you kind of mentioned a moment ago is push yourself, make the calls. And as Andy and Megan will share with you, they set very high standards for themselves, but they've been very, very successful. So let's talk about a little bit about the details, Andy and Megan, about what you do each day, kind of the standard that you set for yourself.
I think Andy and I being on the same team is beneficial because we're able to push each other and essentially compete against each other. So that really helps us not to get complacent and, keeps us really motivated. Like, even if we have like a few bad calls, you kind of lose that energy, but we're able to like kind of bolster each other. So that's been a huge benefit. We also kind of set, daily targets, daily goals, and that's made easier by the features that we keep mentioning. So, we have these set goals, and being in new business development, I mean, we have no choice. That is our job, literally calling people, developing new business. We don't have a list to just farm or anything like that. So for us, at least, that part is easier. Andy?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is normally me and Megan getting around 8 o'clock in the morning, and what we do, no one wants to be called really before 10 o'clock. So what we do is we actually create lists of people to call. Obviously, if you've not got a call list to make, then you can't do a sales blitz. So we'll actually put together maybe 50, 60 people, obviously new companies to call. For example, like we're doing a BC road trip feature, and we've got companies all that we've never contacted before. In order to get those companies, you've got to sit down and actually do the legwork. Yes, you're not going to make any money by actually doing the research, but if you can make the sale, then that's how you make your money. And you find a lot of people that it'll surprise you. I mean, you'll genuinely surprise if you sat down, did a little bit of research, and then cross-reference it with your CRM. The amount of big companies that are on there, I mean, without wanting to be a dead horse, I landed CIBC for recruitment, SAP, which most of you realize is a large national company, and many, many more. And this came because of the sales blitz. We looked what was coming on some special features and realized, wow, we've got a career guide. This company is desperate for staff. What can we do? And as Megan said, in the morning we kind of we obviously it can be very, very very demoralizing at times if you make, for example, 10, 15 calls and it's voicemail. But eventually people will call you back, and that does happen. If you go in there with something exciting, hey, by the way, 21,372 people looking to buy a new home, buy or sell a new home. Is this something that's interesting? We're doing this brand new feature on April the 6th called First Time Home Buyers. And it's something different. Give them a reason to call you back.
Absolutely. Just to reinforce what Andy said, back to the best practice number one is sharing information about and for their business. In fact, when I was up in Vancouver a few weeks ago, we were making some calls there in Andy's office, and we were calling a realtor, and we were sharing with that realtor, just as Andy just said, the number of households who are going to list their home. And guess what happened? That realtor said, stop. And the person said, what do you mean stop? And he says, I want to see you right now. So the point is that these businesses are absolutely interested. They want information about and for their business. And Andy said a moment ago, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it positive. And they will call you back. Our next suggestion is for veterans. Those of you who have been in inside sales and frankly in the business for many years. Andy and Megan have some, ideas and suggestions. And as Megan just said a moment ago, make it fun, make it competitive. What thoughts do you have about, for those of us who've been in the industry a while just to make it, as you said, it gets hard, it's challenging to make it more fun and exciting and rewardable.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would obviously, I'm sure everyone here knows is that after a while there is a strong element of repetition. But create special features, even if it's just one a month. Create something an area that you don't normally target, whether it's a retirement feature, real estate feature, a health in your area feature. Create something new. Give yourself a reason, and kind of set goals. I mean, I actually also won, I think it was a Kindle, and an Amazon Kindle, and I set a challenge between me and Megan, whoever I think was whoever got the most sales in that day. And unfortunately, I lost the Amazon Kindle.
Unfortunately, I won.
But it's things like, I mean, make things a little bit exciting. We have things like the loser has to buy a bacon sandwich or the smoothies the next day. It's just kind of make things a little, give yourself an edge. Give yourself something that's going to keep yourself motivated. Yes, it's easy for me to say this. Obviously, it's my job to do this, and we're having no vertical. People have been around for 10, 15, 20 years. But, I just want to go in there. I want to farm. I want to get the sales I know I've got. But you're basically leaving money on the table. If you, as I said, create one special feature a month, sell into it, even if it's just you. And to be honest, most special features that are sold here, it is just me and Megan that sell into it. But you'll find you get some new clients, even if it's one, maybe 2 or 3 new clients in a special feature. For those clients, they have success in that feature. They want to come back. They want to find out what else you're doing. They want to buy more advertising space, and that's where, I mean, that becomes from a cold call. I mean, maybe you make 50 phone calls, you get maybe 10. Maybe 3 of those really like the results, and they want to do more. Now you've got 3 clients you can probably sell to every month, and if you do that every month, you've got 3 new clients. That's 36 across the year, which boosts your bottom line, because that's what we're all here for. It's about the money, right?
That's exactly right. And what makes it fun to me when I was in the business and out making 4-legged sales calls, etc., is helping that business. That's really rewarding and satisfying, and really makes it fun, exciting, and enjoyable. So next, any questions? What I'd like to do, we're running a little bit out of time this morning. If you have any questions, Andy and Megan, if you'd kindly give us your email, and so people can email you any questions they might have.
Yeah, sure, no problem. You have it, John, right? Or do you want me to key it in?
Yeah, would you just share it with everybody, please?
Yeah, sure. It's andrew.smith@metronews.ca.
Excellent. And Megan?
Mine is Megan, MEGAN.Andersen, ANDERSEN @metronews.ca.
And if you have any questions or suggestions for me, John Marling, my email address is marling, MARLING, @paper.net. So I want to thank you on behalf of Megan and Andy this morning for taking the time to participate in the webinar. And in closing, is there anything, Andy or Megan, that you'd like to say?
It's Megan's turn for the smoothies.
Apparently I lost yesterday.
You lost yesterday. Well, you got a great guy you're competing with. So on behalf of Pulse Research, thank you very, very much for attending the webinar. And a special thank you to Andy and Megan. It is a pleasure working with you. Thanks again.
Pleasure as always, John.
Thanks again, and have a great sales day. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.